Hi, everyone. We have Steph Miller here, who is a very loyal Mackenzie's Meats customer and a wonderful person. And she's very kindly agreed to jump on here with me and have a conversation recorded for all of you. So I'd like to introduce you to Steph. And Steph, as an initial talking point, I was wondering if you might be able to tell us a little bit about yourself and in particular about your health journey.
Hi, Simon. It's really lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. My journey is all about weight loss, as many people's journey to health tends to be. It started back in the 1990s. I was in my 20s and I'm 55 now. And I started to put on weight after I got married, had two children. I went down the road of all the different diet plans. So I signed up for Weight Watchers 3 times over those 30 years. I did Jenny Craig. I did the South Beach diet. I did the hip and thigh diet, which is extremely low fat. And then I did the Dukin diet, which was really low carb. In the middle of that, around 2001, and I did Light and Easy. Everybody's done Light and Easy. So early 2001, I heard about Dr. Atkins, and somebody actually introduced to me the idea of low carb for the first time. And it actually, to me at that time, was quite novel. So that's 20 years ago. And I did Atkins with a friend and with my husband, and we all lost an incredible amount of weight. I knew then, I was completely sold that low carb was the way. However, life gets in the way. Back in 2001, there was no social media. The internet was still in its infancy, really, and I wasn't really on it. And I didn't find low carb groups till a lot later. I started joining low carb groups in about 2008, but my weight just sort of went, I sort of wasn't really sticking to the low carb way. I was doing a real Western diet, trying to be low carb here and there, but you just can't be low carb part-time. It doesn't work. You end up eating too much fat and too much carbs, and the outcome is disastrous. Around 2013, 2014, I read a couple of books by a guy called David Gillespie. He's a Sydney lawyer. He wrote a book called Sweet Poison and another one called Toxic Oil, and they were about the dangers of sugar and seed oils. And I read them, and I immediately stopped eating sugar, and I immediately stopped eating seed oils in my diet. However, a lot of people can do that and then their health returns. But I just continued to gain weight, even though I had removed those extra sugars and I'd removed those extra oils or the bad oils from my diet. They were still creeping in because I was still buying processed food. In 2015, I read an article about Joe and Charlene Anderson. Charlene Anderson had at that time, she had Lyme disease and she had been on a strictly meat-only diet for 15 years. Her husband and her son joined her, and I think at that stage she had one, maybe 2 sons by then. And they were basically a meat-only family. And I remember sending this article to a friend of mine and saying, is this a joke? You know, the mind boggles when you first hear of a meat-only diet. The thing was, I secretly in my head, because I already was in the low carb space, I thought, can this be done? Could this be possible? Could I do this? Anyway, I went back to study in 2015 and I let my diet go. I was eating a lot of processed foods. I still wasn't eating sugar and I still had removed seed oil from our home. But you get seed oil everywhere, I've discovered, including in all packet mixes of things, even packet rice and all sorts of things. There's seed oil in those things. And so after I finished my degree in 2018, I was at my heaviest weight ever. I clocked in at 98 kilos, which for our overseas friends is 216 pounds. I'm only 5'2", so that's pretty heavy for someone with a small frame like mine. I knew I had to do something. So I started with another low carb program and they got me off to a good start. They were a weight loss program that were low carb, but not low enough carb for me. And I already knew enough that I wanted to go lower. And so after 4 months with them, and I'd sort of gotten started in some good habits, another problem that they had was they wanted me to eat all the time, protein all the time. And I understood why they wanted that, but I didn't think that was right. So I wanted to be doing more intermittent fasting. I wanted to lower my carbs. So I went to keto. And so I went to keto in 2018, and I was on keto for 6 months. And during this time, I found myself just getting really into the podcast world. I listened and listened and listened and listened to a million podcasts. And I found Dr. Paul Mason here in Sydney through one of those podcasts. I couldn't believe that I was hearing somebody who was on my page here in Sydney who was a doctor who I could go and see. So I pretty quickly got in touch with him and got into his clinic. He is a sports medicine specialist, but he has a metabolic clinic on the side because he has discovered low carb and he has discovered zero carb, and he is willing to help people get their health back. And he has been incredibly amazing with me. He diagnosed me with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune condition that's caused by leaky gut. Leaky gut is caused by lectins from vegetables, from legumes, from grains, from seeds and nuts. So he recommended that I go carnivore. And by that stage of keto, I was actually very close to carnivore anyway. I was eating a very heavy meat-based diet with just a few vegetables and some nuts. After he diagnosed me, I did go carnivore immediately. And I removed all fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds out of my diet. I kept dairy in and I have kept coffee in. But other than that, I'm pretty much 99% carnivore. So that was at the end of June 2019. So I'm now 2 years carnivore. In that time, I've lost 35 kilos, which is over 75 pounds. And I've kept it off for the last 18 months with a intermittent fasting and carnivore zero carb lifestyle. Dr. Mason, I still see him. He checks my blood work every 6 months. It's just been getting better and better. My blood work is getting better. My inflammation, in the first 6 months of carnivore, my inflammation came down from a very high 20 to 2. It should be under 1. And so we're still working on that, but my inflammation's come down to a much more manageable level. My insulin went down. I had been pre-diabetic. I didn't know it, but I was very insulin resistant. And all of those health markers are just resolving, and my Hashimoto's antibodies are also getting better as well. In a nutshell, that's how I got here from the 1990s to 2021.
Wow. Thanks so much for sharing. I had a few questions lined up which were going to lead you down the paths that you naturally went anyway. So it was fantastic for you to share, your experience with Dr. Paul Mason and your incredible weight loss journey. I'm curious to find out what you're eating now. What does a day on the plate look like for you, Steph?
Until very, very recently, I had in my mind that fat, animal fat particularly, is extremely helpful for gut healing. In fact, I know that to be the case. And so I really focused on macros of 70% fat and 30% protein with 0 to 1% carbs normally in my diet. That would look like fatty carter steak, like a ribeye or a Scotch fillet, with some eggs, maybe some chicken or some bacon. I like to have a little bit of chicken liver or chicken hearts because I believe in a little bit of organ meats if you can tolerate them. I make rissoles for the boys at my house, my husband and my son. It's pretty simple. Steak and eggs is my go-to. I like chicken. I like pork belly. I love lamb, but I find that I do best on steak and eggs.
Fantastic. And Steph, what's next for you? You've got this incredible journey. I feel like you've got the power to help a lot of people. Tell us about what your plans are.
Yeah, actually, I have just been stuck on the same weight for maybe about a year now. And so in order just to move the needle a little bit more, I'm going a little bit lower fat and a little bit higher protein. And I'm working with Dr. Lisa Wiedemann. She's a carnivore doctor on Instagram.
Okay.
She is awesome. I'm working with her to try and dial that in a little bit more. I really want to get to this ultimate weight goal. I'm hoping to do that in the next couple of months. I am doing a weight management course here in Sydney. This is run by the Australian College of Weight Management and Allied Health. So it's a government approved course. And that means that during the course, I have to learn the current dietary guidelines, which of course I don't really agree with. And I certainly don't eat myself. But I'm hoping that this certificate will give me a way to help others. I feel like after 30 years of struggle, have been struggling with food addiction all my life, and to acknowledge that and to understand that I think a lot of people out there think that they are food addicts, but they're being told, no, there's no such thing. There really is a thing as food addiction, and carb addiction in particular is really what it is. And we need people to find their way to help them get out of that, just like anyone with any addiction would need to get help to find their way out of their addiction. And the problem with food is that it's everywhere you go. So I am hoping that, it would be my dream really to work with a low carb medical practice, or a medical practice that was open to low carb. And I really have a couple of really important things that I want to communicate to people, and that is that they need to look at their motivation style. And I really believe in the 4 tendencies made popular by Gretchen Rubin. If you want to look or Google her, the 4 tendencies are the upholder, the abstainer, the obliger, and the rebel. Basically a personality type. And when you find out what type you are, you will know how best to get yourself motivated to do whatever it is that you feel you need to do. For example, I'm an obliger, which means that I need to be held accountable. Somebody needs to hold me to account. If I have a personal trainer waiting at the gym for me, I will be there. If I have somebody waiting, Dr. Lisa Wiedemann at the moment is waiting to talk to me next week and to see how I went this week, and I will do the things because I'm an obliger. Other people have other tendencies. The upholder one is funny because that's the type of person who sets a New Year's Eve goal and then sticks to it. And generally speaking, they're not people that have weight problems. So, but then there's the rebel, and then there's the questioner. And my husband is a questioner. He's a kind of person who just needs to know what's in it for him, why does this benefit him? And if he understands scientifically or practically or logically why this benefits him, he'll do it. You can devise different ways of getting yourself to complete your goals if you can understand what your personality type is. And you also need to know whether you're an abstainer or a moderator. That is so important. I'm an abstainer. That's why I've gone down the 0 carb route, because I cannot have carbs in my life. I'm like an alcoholic with carbs. I cannot. If I have one is one too many and never enough. Same thing with a drink, same thing with drugs. You just can't do it. If you're an abstainer, you need to abstain. If you're a moderator, you're somebody who can't bear the thought of never having something again, and you're able to have just a little bit and be okay with that. If I open a packet of Tim Tams, the whole packet will be gone by the end of the day, and I'll be the one who ate them all. I don't do that. I don't allow myself to do that. And I want to tell people that meat is essential for health. It is essential for mental health. It is essential to prioritize protein in our lives. It is essential to prioritize healthy fats, and most of those fats come from animals. And I really want to tell people that a plant-based lifestyle is actually not the best for us or for animals or for the environment in most cases. I can point to a few resources about that as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Steph. And now for a slightly more lighthearted question. Your favourite cut of meat from Mackenzie's Meats? I
really, really love your Scotch fillet. I'm so loving getting my meat from Mackenzie's Meats. I'm tweaking my macros at the moment, so I'm just moving away from Scotch fillet, which is like a ribeye, but more to a rump steak, which is just a little leaner, so that I can try and get to these goals. I believe in ethically sourced meat and locally raised meat, and that's the meat that you're providing for me and my family, and I really, really value it.
Thank you, Steph. We're very lucky to be able to provide you guys with meat every week. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Steph. I think a lot of people are going to get plenty out of that. And when you do become a weight loss coach in your own style, not necessarily towards the government guidelines, I know you'll do an amazing job. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Simon.
And look forward to delivering your next meat box next Friday.
Lovely. Thank you, Simon.